starting with you. September 27, 2014. There is so much for you to do each day, so much planning, preparation, building, honing, developing, growing, and so much more just to get to the next step of any personal or spiritual goal. When you move from one thing to another, do you ever think of yourself moving in a form of grace? Or are you just plowing ahead, one thing after another, without thought, without consideration? Can grace be defined in any part of personal or spiritual quests? You know, precious hearts, God gives grace to you freely all the time. Grace has many definitions, this is true, but when God gives His divine grace, it is an act of giving selflessly and unconditionally without prejudice, without criticism or judgment. Grace is something that doesn't only define a woman who flows fluidly, as grace is more than just movement, it is a way of being that men as well can demonstrate. If God Himself doesn't pick and choose who is to receive His grace, then isn't it possible for you to give just the same to others? Grace is a gift, precious hearts, a most precious one. How you respond and pick yourself back up from a difficult circumstance where deep sorrow and grief was felt can be described as one with grace, when you choose to still come from a place of love rather than hate and discord. When situations don't turn out as planned, there are many ways one can respond and react. It is very easy to allow your emotions to overpower you. It takes great restraint to come from a place of love when you are feeling overwhelmed. No, precious hearts, God is always with you in moments of despair. He is always shining His brilliant light and surrounding you with His infinite love, and it is His energy that empowers you to come from such a place and to rise above grief and sorrow. Even in your modern day, it is always possible to become someone of grace, someone that God shines through, and not only when you have been dealt a difficult day, but when you have experienced a day filled with utmost joy and happiness as well. When you become aware of another dear soul's suffering or despair, you find yourself overcome by a deep feeling of wanting to help, to comfort them in any way. This is what compassion is: caring about another regardless if they are animal, a stranger, or someone you know. It is not wanting to see another life in pain. When someone demonstrates compassion for another who is in despair or suffering, they are empathetic. They can feel the pain, the emotion, the anguish of the one who is hurting, and it is this deep connection and understanding that can sometimes feel like a curse instead of blessing, to reach out to others and help raise them up, so they can once again see their own light that is joined with God's. Of course, during such an exchange there may not be any talk of God being present or of His interaction. But anytime you selflessly help another dear brother or sister of God, He is there at that moment working through you. In order to be compassionate towards another, you are required to have enough love for your own self in order to help ease another person's suffering. Sometimes what we've seen is sympathy becoming mixed up with empathy. There are differences of the two words. Sympathy is when you feel sorry for someone, where empathy is when you feel their despair and want to help lessen their sadness. Sympathy and pity many times can encourage you to help another who is down, but it has little feeling, little love to the action. Now when you add compassion, your action comes from a place of love. You too can become vulnerable as you share a part of yourself with the one who is in pain. Why is it that you can become vulnerable, precious hearts? Well, it is easy, my loves. When you give from your heart, through empathetic ways, you are sharing your effort, your time, yourself. You are opening your own heart and feeling what is occurring, and sometimes old wounds may surface reminding you of pain you have yourself felt. When the compassion is strong, it will help erode any feelings of hostility, because compassion is a love-filled action that speaks of mercy and kindness towards another person. Now that brings us to discuss what mercy is. Mercy and compassion go hand in hand. You can't display compassion without the action of mercy. When you give compassion unconditionally, it is the action of mercy that encourages you to reach to others in kindness. What mercy means, precious hearts, is the giving of grace to others who may not necessarily deserve it. Maybe someone you don't know, but a stirring happens deep within your heart, a knowing that an animal, a person, a precious life form is hurt and in despair, and your compassionate heart reaches out to comfort. Mercy has its purpose and place in every era, even in yours. Mercy, just like grace and compassion, is derived from love. God encourages every son and daughter to adopt such attributes into their way of being and living as they help to deepen the connection with Him. When mercy is demonstrated, it gives way for hope to enter, for light to penetrate any darkness. It helps to rekindle any faith that may have been temporarily lost. In a nutshell, mercy truly is grace's conclusion on integrity and fairness. When all three are combined, grace, mercy and compassion, you have someone who is patient and kind, someone who is empathetic and very giving. They are not superhumans, they are people just like you who take the time to smile, to encourage, to help up, to reach inside another person's heart and give a little hope for the better. Mercy isn't an action that is displayed all the time, precious hearts. It is an action that is demonstrated at the right times for effectiveness of the compassion and grace that is being unconditionally shared. You only become merciful at the time it is needed. It can sometimes be described as a magical, mystical impulse that works alongside compassion. At some point in your life you have already been called to demonstrate mercy towards another, be it your child with a fever, a friend with a broken heart, or a peddler in need of money for a warm drink or food. But have you ever considered to give yourself mercy? It is true, precious hearts, before you can give a part of yourself to others, you must be able to give to yourself. To help heal others regardless of the size of help you offer, you also must be able to recognize any of your own wrongs and to forgive yourself. Show yourself a little mercy now and again by reducing the amount of time you criticize yourself or pass judgment on yourself. It does little good to practice being merciful upon others when you have not practiced such with your own beautiful precious self. Genuine compassion and mercy must be given to yourself before it can really be given to others. Today, we come to you, encouraging you to reach into yourself, heal the parts of you that are still hurting. Don't minimize the areas that require your love with excuses that there are other things more important. You are important. When you give yourself the healing of mercy and compassion, then you can become the giver of grace, mercy and compassion to all life. Become God in action. Demonstrate the love you have for yourself by being compassionate and merciful towards all others. Not only are you doing good for someone who is in need of kindness, care and compassion, you are doing good for yourself and for humanity. Your actions don't need to be large to be helpful, they only need to come from a place of deep love. I love each of you passionately, infinitely. I am Lady Quan through Julie Miller. spiritualnetworks.com